a lot of people are saying, like, just automate everything, and now we have an AI, and we really don't need people in our business. We definitely, especially don't need VAs. Obviously, that is not true. But a great thing that we're seeing happen and develop in my business is we just have mountains of data. So like if you ever had a Facebook group and you've had people come in and answer all those questions, right?
Yeah.
So I could take all of that data, put it into the right AI. I don't know if it's ChatGPT or Claude.ai or which one it's going to be. We're going to ask it questions like, what is the number one question that people have asked? What is a product I could create based on all of this information? What content, obviously, for days, for years? What's some great content we can create from this? But as great as that AI is, I still need my virtual assistant to do this because I need them to find the data, copy and paste it, organize it, structure it, all of that.
You know it. I know it. 2023 is almost done. This is crazy. 2024 is almost here, but we still have Q4 to rock and roll and make the most out of this time. That's why the new HubSpot Sales Hub is here to sync up everything inside of your operations, your team, and allow for collaboration to happen along the full customer journey so you're not missing a beat. And I'm talking about workspace, your analytics, everything's reporting across the board so everybody's clued in and delivering as you should, bringing in more revenue. So with this whole thing, there's an AI platform they just rolled out, a conversational platform called ChatSpot. This thing's gonna help you write copy using AI, generating emails, posts, so much more. All the stuff that you'd have to manually do, well, that's different now. So tons of integrations, 1,400 plus, tons of ways to integrate features into your workflow. So this is something you wanna definitely look into right now for Q4. So now's the time to go make a switch to HubSpot Sales Hub over at HubSpot.com/sales. Hey, Jen, it's great to finally have you here. Miriam gave us a nice little introduction, and I think this is going to be a timely chat for the folks who have podcasts, don't podcast, looking for systemizing this wild world of tools and team. And it seems like you cover all of that and way more. So it's fun to have you here. It's great.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And that's where there's so many things as I was getting to know you, at least virtually, looking at all the things you have out there. Business coach, the fact that you help entrepreneurs of all sorts, CEOs, to really systemize themselves. And it seems like it's like the glue of an organization. Is to really tie things together, and people are part of that as well.
I think it's the glue. I mean, I think even if you don't believe it initially, or you're not sort of made up that way, like you're not a person that's, naturally thinks that way, we all run up against that reality.
Yeah, definitely. And so we'll dig into, and just to preface folks here, there's definitely some pillars that we'll be covering because, Jen, you do some interesting things. I mean, you have podcasts. A lot of folks here either aspiring to have a podcast of their own, or they're obviously listening. But you have these Alexa flash briefings that are extremely unique sounding, and I don't really know anything about them, but you've been consistent for 4 years, like you were just saying. So that's a form of podcasting. I would count it,
For sure.
And so obviously of systems, there's a lot of folks that struggle with the systems is the time in their business and taking away from things, especially with, new AI tools or really anything new in general, and making sure we have the right people. So I know you have a resource for that as well.
Yep.
To actually find the right people easily. So that's kind of like a little overview for folks as we dive in here, and we'll bob and weave everywhere else. But Jenna, I'd love to know about you, because you're also an adjunct professor. And so you have your fingers in a lot of things, it seems like. So what got you all started in this whole space to begin?
I'm so bad about anniversaries, and I realized the other day that I hit the 10-mile mark, or the 10-year mark, and like a year ago. So so I guess, it's been a while now. I'm in my 11th year, and I started as a consultant because I've always just been interested in all the tools. I love technology, and I just love these tools that connect us. So, I remember when my first son was born 20-something years ago, like 23 years ago, eBay had just hit the scene. And I just looked around my office as I was nursing him, and I thought, what can I sell? I want to sell something. But it had to be within arm's reach of where I was, you know? So there was like a pair of slippers that were unopened from the Ritz-Carlton, and there was like a duplicate wind-up clock I had, which was a West Clocks brand, and I had gotten them at Target, and I don't remember what the third thing was. And I just listed them on eBay, and they sold, and it was just such a monumental, and they sold for a lot of money, I have to say, but it was just such a monumental thing in my life. You know, I was in the confines of this small little office with 4 walls, but I was participating in like global commerce, and I was making actual money. And I would say that, I mean, that was 100 years ago, but that really was, I think, the spark for me. And then after that, I was just always interested in all the things. So I started as a social media digital marketing consultant for small businesses. And then I got introduced to the world of online courses, the one-to-many model. And I did that, and that was very rewarding and worked out well for me. And then along the way, you know, all these great tools have popped up for us, right? Like live streaming. I mean,
oh my gosh,
we didn't have live streaming before. I mean, it was just...
Well, good luck. I mean, well, that was left to the people with these massive ways. I mean, there was no streaming. I mean, I had the founder of Twitch, Justin Kahn, on like last year, and he told me about how he created this modem on his head. It was like 2 modems or something, and like a camcorder, and that's how he did streaming and how Twitch actually started initially.
That's amazing.
So
and we do. I think we all those of us, you know, with online businesses and here in the online world, I think it's really easy to take it for granted, but it's important to just stop and go, holy, you know, cow! Like, then this phone, you know, have more bandwidth than Tom Brokaw or Walter Cronkite or any of those guys did with, you know, on a news channel. So it really is amazing, and I still continue to be fascinated. And I think AI hit at just the right time for me, because I might have been getting a little bored, or, I mean, nothing so exciting has happened since Periscope and Meerkat and all that. You know what I mean?
Point.
It's so this was like the next big thing. So I was super excited about that.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a good perspective, because it's tough to look back, because a lot of stuff, obviously the world's going so fast, and as entrepreneurs, I feel like we see even more than most, because we're constantly trying to innovate, push ourselves, coach, you know, and share what we're learning. But it's very simple for us, if we don't have the systems, if we don't have the focus, and to bounce around from thing to thing, and then possibly burnout. I mean, a big thing in this show is to talk about entrepreneur burnout too, and how real it is. Yeah.
Yes, it is a real thing.
Yeah. Have you experienced any of that? Obviously, starting there on eBay, and you've worked with so many people, organizations, small and large. What's come up for you? I guess we'll start there, and like some of these mental things that have popped up that have taken you off course. Yeah.
Well, I would say, you know, now looking back, what I've learned is that, like, for me personally, there's definitely, I can almost like chart a graph of the highs and lows, not as it relates to the revenue stream, but as it relates to just sort of like my perspective and my feeling about things happening in my business. You know, and that's comforting, because I can say to myself, you come out of this every time, and you come out of it more inspired than you were before. So, you know, Seth Godin talked about the dip, and, you know, it's just those of us who've been at this for a while, like, it's nothing to be ashamed of. We all just know it's a fact. I'm not unique. I think this is very right. Would you say that you go through this as well?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
We all have our unique way of going about it, though.
Yes, that's so true. And for the first time, though, burnout really hit me, and where things really shifted on my business was I was creating my first big online course, and it was just me in my business. And, you know, like I said, I always liked the tech, and I always liked all the shiny toys and tools. So setting up lead pages to connect with Webinar Jam, to connect with, you know, whatever email service provider I was using at the time, was kind of fun for me. And satisfying, because at the end of the day, wow, I felt like I got a lot done, right?
Yeah, right.
I set up this late. But was I getting paid for that? No. And also I noticed I was sitting in a chair for like 12 and 13 and 14. I'm at a standing desk right now.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I even have a treadmill underneath me, but I'm not.
I didn't get that
far. I'm not walking. I don't have it turned on, not for podcast. But yeah. So I am and always have been a more or less fit kind of a person, health conscious. And I looked down at my feet, and my ankles were swollen. And I don't have any health issues or anything like that. It was literally because I was sitting days on end, hours on end. I was sitting there, and the stress. I remember we were having a big webinar, and something was happening with my webinar, my internet connection, and I had to run out and get an Ethernet connection to do like a hard whatever. And I wasn't. Now I'm in an office building, but at the time I was, in an office in my house, or not even an office, and it was just all things sort of hit me at once, and I was really borderline like panic attack. It was absolutely horrible, and I thought, and thank God this was like 2 years into my business, and that's when I really had this light bulb moment of, this is going to take me forever, like to actually, because let's suppose, after I get done with the sales webinar and get all the emails out and do all the things that have to be done, and it does sell and it's successful, then I have to provide the thing I'm offering.
Fulfill, yeah.
It's just, there's so much to be done. And and I was listening to podcasts at the time of people that were doing this, and they kind of made it sound a lot more simple than it was. So I had this moment, and I was like, I got to get help. Like, this is ridiculous. This is going to take me forever. And at that point, I hired my first virtual assistant, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I definitely was not in the black. I mean, there was red bleeding all over the place. But when I really thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, I have to slow down to speed up. And that has kind of been my motto ever since. And that's what I try to tell other people. You have to get off that wheel. You have to, you're either going to crash into that wall like I did and have swollen ankles and a bruise on your head, or you're going to just get ahead of it and not wait for that moment and just say, okay, I've got to get off this wheel, and I got to get help. Because once I did that, like everything in my business, that is when I really went like full throttle. It was like now I had someone who, she was, just because I could do it didn't mean I should be doing it, right?
That's
like
right.
Just because I could do the lead pages, I shouldn't be the one doing it. So this person took over all of that, and all of a sudden I had all this free time. So at that moment, from that moment, I did the course. That's when I created a physical product. I started a podcast. I ended up getting my first guests were Gary Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin.
Nice.
But I would never have been able to do that, because if I was doing all the other stuff, but I was able to laser focus, chasing them down, hunting them down like they were. I mean, I really kind of had to get them on the show and all the other things. But then people started to notice me, and they said, what did you do? How did your business blow up so fast? I watched this happen for you, over the course of just less than a year. And I was like, somebody else is doing everything that was eating up all my time.
Yeah, and it allows you to go hunting. It allows you to go really focus in on what the most leveraged aspect of your business is. And this is so common with literally everyone I speak with. And it really doesn't matter what phase you're in. We're always like met with this next hurdle, and it's usually, I feel like it's a mental thing, and it's us feeling like we're probably the best at that thing. And for whatever reason, it feels like this monumental undertaking to hand off or and I'm sure it gets easier over time. I know it has for me in certain regards, but then there's certain things that aren't. So talk about because it's so tough for people to, we've all heard this, let's go get help, VAs, whoever, and there's a lot of mental stuff there. Obviously, it's the cost. How do I find them? Are they good? And they're like, all right, can they do as good as me? And what do you have to think on that point?
Well, first of all, what I want to say, and I think this is really important, and really I'm only just now coming to this realization, and that is, you cannot escape the bottleneck. Okay, as entrepreneurs, even if we get to, $20 million in our business. Like even if the outside world, or even we're looking at our business going, all right, I'm crushing it.
Yeah.
You're still going to be a bottleneck, because that means that, as we grow, new problems present themselves, and you have to step in. Even if you hire a chief operating officer or even a CEO for your company, I think there's always going to be a bottleneck to some degree. So I think we all need to understand that, and somehow I think that takes the pressure off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can give ourselves a break a little bit, because
You're not unique in that sense.
Exactly.
Like,
yes.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. But all those fears that you mentioned are exactly what I hear every single day. I've done this before and it didn't work. It was more trouble than it was worth, and I might as well just do it myself. How do I trust someone? So we'll start with that one. Like how do you trust anyone, right? Like if this person was in the cubicle next to you, I mean, how do you trust them? I mean, it's just ultimately you just have to. And obviously when you hire someone, there are things you can do in the screening process that really make it more likely that you're not going to hire someone that is either going to sabotage your business or make crazy errors or be malicious. Malicious is something I never see. Okay. I've never seen no one's ever come back to me and said my VA, stole my, money out of my PayPal account or something. That never happens.
People
it's more
are
like
inherently good.
Yes, people are. Thank you. I agree that. I mean, that I think you kind of have to have that mindset that people really are, for the most part, good, and they want to be good and do good things. I want to say one of my tips for the hiring process and screening is that I think everybody's heard of, like you put a job post up and then you have some sort of secret Easter egg in there to make sure that the people saw the ad, right? Like everybody sort of knows that trick. The other one is get them to reply with something that is related to that Easter egg, so that they read the thing. So in their email, they might, you might want them to format their reply in a certain way. Right. And then we all have heard the clever interview questions. But here's the thing. Like, anyone can give you a beautiful resume, a beautiful portfolio. My God, in the day of AI, I mean, what are we going to do? Like, so I would say, especially now in the time of AI, the single best way to screen your candidate is to hire people for a trial week. And I've created this system where basically the trial week is composed on a Trello board. You could do it on anything you want, right? But I use Trello. So it's sort of like once they're hired and they sign the agreement for this trial week, they log in, and it's sort of like step 1, step 2, step 3, tag me when you're finished. Then you have these different tasks all laid out. The beauty of that is I can replicate that board with a click, right? So I could create 4, 5, 6, whatever. And I can have that many people in a trial week at the same time, but they don't know there are others in the trial week. And there's nothing that is going to shine a brighter light on the person who is the right match for you than this. Because not only are you sort of seeing how they work, right? Are they pinging you every 5 minutes? Maybe you're okay with that. I'm personally not. But so are they pinging me every 5 minutes? I can see how fast they're moving through the tasks. I can see their tasks as they go, and I could cut the trial week short too, by the way. Like if day 2, I already see that you totally are not my person, I can, thank you very much. I'm going to pay you for the rest of the week, but we're done here. Yeah. And you see them in comparison to the other people. Yeah. So that's like my favorite thing. And in fact, we've just had so much success teaching the trial week system and doing it ourselves as we grow our own team that I just want to do a trial week for everything in my life.
Right. I was going to say, it takes the pressure off of everybody, right?
Everybody. And for your VA too, right? Because they get a sense of like, is she going to be crazy? Is she like a micromanager? Is she, what's she like? So I love a trial week.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. And I do that with clients too. I mean, like you do it also, like you said, you really can extend it across the board and structure it differently. And of course, in terms of a VA or any kind of hire, pay them for that week and make it very clear. Because
absolutely.
I guess, how would you present that? Because I could see that being a hurdle for some folks. Like, what's the messaging look like when you say, this is how we want to do it?
we basically have a templated message, and it says it's in the contract and it's in the email, and it's like, and understand that before they're ever invited into the trial week, there's been a whole bunch of vetting prior to that's happened, sort of in an automated fashion, right? So they've jumped through all these hurdles up to that point, and then we say, we'd love to invite you to a paid trial week. And if this sounds good to you, please sign the agreement. And then we have all the details in the agreement, and it's pretty straightforward. I mean, we've never had anybody say, no, I don't want to do that.
I like it. And I don't see that often. It's never really been said, like you said, the Easter egg thing, you got to read to this point, follow these instructions, send me an email with this specific subject line, and blah, 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 that whole thing.
And that's all good. Like, we still do elements of that in that part I was telling you about, that is mostly automated. But and the other thing I want to say about the paid trial week is that sometimes we've had clients who they finish the trial week, and they've got, let's say, 4 people going through it, and they have 2 people, and they're really torn. They really aren't sure. You could go into another paid trial week. Nothing
That's
says
true.
you have to just end after 1 week. Maybe we make it a trial month. It's as flexible as you want it to be. You're the boss. So.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you find that the most common bottleneck, because there's so many processes that we're all dealing with, but what's the most common thing that you think, if there was a hire for that role or a series of tasks, let's say, that
Social
would really
media, hands down.
Media. Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
this is, well, not to cut you short. Is
You're
that
good. No.
I think that it's just the one that whenever people reach out to us, they're like, I hate social media so much, and I just want somebody to do all of my social media. And so that's one of the first things. The other thing is, like, basically any and all of the tech related stuff. And then the last thing I ever handed off, which I wish was the first thing I handed off, which is more of a bottleneck than I even realized, is my email.
Yes.
Right. But isn't that also so scary? Like, the thought of that is so scary. It's just like, what if they delete something really important? But you know what? It's actually, it's first of all, like in Gmail, my VA doesn't delete anything. She archives everything, which is the same thing as deleting in Gmail.
At least you can go back and look it up and bring it back if you need.
And if something is super important, it's going to come back into your email. So if something actually got deleted, but it's just so wonderful to walk into your office, turn on your computer, and there's like maybe 4 emails sitting in there that she has saved for you, with a little note attached to it. We use a great plugin called oh God, I'm going to forget it. It's Simple G Notes or something. Okay. And what's so amazing is it puts this little highlight. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've never used it. No, I'm very curious, though.
It gives you this little highlight. So I could go into that email. So let's say it's a customer service email, and someone says whatever they say. And and she's left it there for me because probably she didn't know exactly how to respond.
Sure.
Otherwise, she would have responded to it herself, right? So it's sitting there. So I'll go into just write straight into that email, and I'll say, tell this person that the answer is bananas, or something. And it just shows up like right there in the index of emails. In other words, I don't have to forward her an email with an explanation. It's just right there.
So it's layered on top of Gmail.
It's layered on
it
top
goes to
with
her.
this. Yes, it's highlighted. It's like a bright yellow.
Got it.
She automatically sees, and we use that so much, and it's just so great. It's such a great way of saving from the back and the back and forth. And then the other thing, it's not really so much a bottleneck, but it's like something you need in your business. You know you need it, but you don't have time to figure out how to have it in your business. For example, Google Analytics or SEO. Like, you started your business and maybe you were in business for a couple of years with no even understanding of SEO, but now all of a sudden, it's time to think about it because you're creating all this content, but you just didn't go about it the right way. You do not have time to stop and take an SEO course. You do not have time to, become a Pinterest expert when you realize like how great Pinterest is and you'd like to incorporate Pinterest into your business. So what I have done is those are all things that I needed in my own business.
Yeah.
And so instead of going and learning SEO and then trying to teach it to someone else, which is ludicrous. Because again, like for me to step off and spend that amount of time, that's just wasted money. I should be out networking, doing joint ventures, 100%. Writing a new sales webinar. There's a million things I need to be doing to make money. That's not one of them.
And that's also pretty much every CEO or founder of a company should be doing that kind of role, like what you just listed. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And we all know it. Like we all know it, but it just, there's certain things that pull us back like this. So what we do is I'll find like a great program, and, information is so cheap now, whether it's Udemy or just some free stuff I find on YouTube or whatever. Yeah. There's like, information is not a problem today, right? I mean,
right.
There's just
totally.
gobs.
AI helps too. Yeah.
Yes, and AI too. So I'll find, like in this particular case, I found a great Pinterest course, got some referrals, and was like, this is a good, current, well thought of Pinterest course. And I asked my VA, do you want to learn Pinterest? Do you want to be in charge of Pinterest? Do you want to, just wear the Pinterest hat? And she was like, absolutely. So she watched the course. I outsourced the learning, and then,
Perfect.
But then the question is like, yeah, well, what if she leaves? Then like she takes all that knowledge with her. No, she doesn't. Because another thing that we do in our business is some of the first things that a VA will do is to create the SOPs for us. So we all know we need SOPs. But let me ask you, Joe, when you go and you're setting up a new tool, like what is this? Riverside. Okay. Yeah. So you're setting up Riverside. Do you create screenshots and graph charts and a checklist of every single step that needs to happen for this? You're probably gonna say yes, and
I do not, but I love Loom videos. That's what I prefer.
Yes, well, A+ for you. So that's all you have to do. It's like you're already doing that. You click your Loom video and you just say, now you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. But if you add why, it's also really important. So I'm doing this because, and I'm doing this because. Now you have this beautiful library every time you Loom. You send that to your brand new VA. Your brand new VA, you ask your brand new VA to take the Loom and create a physical, or like
checklist,
a Google Doc with screenshots if necessary. And the beauty of this is not only does your VA now know how to do it, I mean, has she made the system for you? She knows how to do it because she had to watch and listen to what you were saying very carefully to translate that from a video into a document.
Yes,
so the same thing happened for this Pinterest situation. She took the course, then she documented like where all the files are, how we're setting this up, what the daily, monthly, quarterly things are that we need to do with regard to Pinterest. And so if she moves on to another position within our company, or she, decides to go to Mars or something, then the next person can just step right into that.
It's so crucial. And it's such a great way to train anyone on anything. I mean, like you said, start with what you know enough of the process and explain the whys behind it and your thinking. And then it's really up to them. And this goes, I guess, for any kind of training course that they're learning for you. They are they have to be very focused on the deliberate task at that point. That translates to other people down the line, and it's just a great way to train people, and it's a great way to go back and forth and make sure to clarify. Okay, so is there a gap here? I'm sure there's another phase. This is what I've done, at least, is like Loom video, have them digest it, create those docs, and then kind of go back and be like, okay, so is there anything here? Does it actually make sense? Assuming that this is something that really needs that triple check, I guess.
Good for you. Yes. Yeah. I mean, A++.
Takes more time. Yeah.
For that.
I don't do it for everything.
Yeah. But the good thing, I mean, and the great thing is that, we're hardwired as human beings, whatever our role. We could be a fisherman or, an investment banker, like whatever we are, we're hardwired to grow. We just are. Like, it doesn't matter what our job is. We are hardwired to grow, and some people are better at it than others, but or more focused on it than other people. But this is an opportunity for your virtual assistant to grow individually, themselves, to contribute to the business in a way that they feel like they have a meaningful impact, and that's such an important part of what I'm focused on, is helping people find virtual assistants who become partners my virtual assistant that I hired my second year in business is still with me today.
Awesome.
And she's unbelievable, and she is completely invested in our business, and knowing that she has my back, and that she trains all the new people that are hired and takes care of all of that. It's wonderful, but that's what people, I think, want and need, because we can all go to Upwork, and there's Upwork is great and Fiverr is great, right, for one-off tasks and projects, but we all need a real true team.
Yes.
To get that momentum, to see that growth, in my opinion.
Your opinion's spot on with mine too. Big announcement here. The Hustle and Flowchart podcast is now the newest podcast on the HubSpot podcast network. They're the audio destination for business professionals. It's exactly why I joined the network, to expand what we've been doing here, making business the fuel for your life, not the stressor or the burnout. We want to build fun and make business a big part of who we are and our expression out to others. So you're going to expect a lot more curated guests and that sync up with this mission. Also, more topics and episodes from me. And I want you to keep listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Go check out other shows on the HubSpot podcast network at hubspot.com/podcast network. So to your point, there's actually a family of VAs now which is awesome because, there's a gal in the Philippines that we worked with, my wife and I, in multiple businesses now, but she's always been a part of them. And
That's
now
amazing.
Her sister's in there too. And it's like, that's the thing is there's families, and if I'm just speaking of Philippines, I mean, there's amazing, very tight families that a lot of them want to learn so much more and excel themselves. And our original VA ended up going and pursuing a different career, which is great because we set her up for that.
That's amazing.
And like you said, it's team, it's almost family to an extent if you integrate anyone. I mean, there's my ops manager. She's been another almost 10 years now in multiple businesses. So she's not,
amazing.
I wouldn't call her a VA, but hey, Katie, you're probably listening.
Hey, Katie.
But I could see, we also have a VA that she works with. So it's almost like and I don't know, what are your thoughts on this in terms of a team? Because I would say I'm a lot more the visionary. A lot of founders, I think, find themselves in that role, but then you have an integrator/operator type person. And I would say the VA maybe is kind of the operator, or maybe there's another layer there with VAs, virtual assistants, What are your thoughts on that whole structure?
I mean, I think that, so I haven't been, the people in my business have roles, not so much titles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't, but I know people, they have their integrators and they have their, what's the other one that,
there's visionaries, integrators.
Online business manager, OBM. Okay.
Right,
and so, I had a colleague who always talked about her OBM. Well, I don't have a VA, I have an OBM. But then she would, sort of list out what her OBM was doing. And I was like, all right, Nika, I guess that's my partner and my head VA. And I just said, like, I guess you're an OBM. I mean, you're whatever you want to be. Like, I don't care. Like I told her, you put whatever title you want on the signature of
whatever
your emails. I really
behind your name.
care less, But it's just sort of like, I think as you grow your, so she really is more than a virtual assistant, I guess, in the way that we think of as VAs being taskmasters or, just taskers, doers or whatever. So she obviously, she does so much more than that. She trains everybody. She really just kind of runs the whole business. I could even call her a COO if I wanted to.
Probably.
But I think, I think as the business grows and people rise up into more responsibility, then it will just automatically be that they oversee certain people doing certain tasks. I'm not
100%.
Answering your question very well.
No, I think you're right. It's a role-based thing. And let's be honest, we're small business owners. We probably don't and shouldn't have this whole hierarchy of
right,
things.
The HR department.
No.
Right.
And because some people think that way. It's like, I need to, no, slow down. Like, let's get back to the offer. Like, how are you solving people's problems? How can you package that up as a business? And let's be honest, we want to scale our time because we got to do more of the stuff that we're great at and not get bogged down in the details of things that aren't us.
Totally.
So,
exactly.
However that shapes up for you. But Yeah. So Jen, tell me about, because I know you have a solution to this, and I want to shout it out for you. FrontRowCEO.com, right? Is that the?
Actually, well, they could go there too. For frontrowceo.com, that's a course that I have. It's a program.
I can edit this out, actually.
Well,
yeah.
no, I mean, you don't have to. It's kind of my favorite way for people to learn, honestly, but it's a program. You really have to slow down to speed up with that. It's like 4 weeks out of your life, but it's like teach a man to fish. If you learn that program, like, you're set. But a lot of people don't want that program. So, yes, Joe, I have it's CEO Virtual Staffing, and I think the link is CEOstaffing.com.
Okay. Or
CEOvirtualstaffing.com.
CEOvirtualstaffing.com. I have that pulled up here too.
Yeah, and I've got a really good, if you scroll to the bottom of that page, there's a resource that I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on, and it's 160 tasks that you can outsource to your virtual assistant. Because that is one of the other big roadblocks that I get from people is like, I don't even know, like, from day to day what I do in my business. I kind of flip on my computer and sort of like start running. And so this will just help get the gears turning.
That's exactly, I saw that checklist or I guess list, and I thought that would be very helpful. It's helpful for me to see, all right, what are the options for me? Like, what's the menu of things that I'm not even thinking of right now that get my brain spinning and be like, oh, yeah, I probably do like half of those and feel like I should do the other half somehow all myself.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. Oh, and
can
I tell you one more thing that I wanted to share with you that, like, I was just thinking about recently that is so exciting. And so we're kind of coming full circle back to talking about AI being, so exciting right now. But, like, a lot of people are saying, like, just automate everything. And now we have an AI and we really don't need people in our business. We definitely, especially don't need VAs, but obviously that is not true.
That's
But a great thing that we're seeing happen and develop in my business is we just have mountains of data. So, like, if you ever had a Facebook group and you've had people come in and answer all those questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you need help with, and tell me about your business or whatever. So we just have pages and pages and pages. That's just one example of the valuable data that we have, but it's just sitting there for the most part. I mean, if I write a sales page, I might go to try to scrape some language off of there or something like that. But now we can have AI analyze all of that. So I could take all of that data, put it into the right AI. I don't know if it's ChatGPT or Claude.ai or which one it's going to be, but this is on the list. So we're going to ask it questions like, what is the number one question that people have asked? We could do that for all of, all these years that we have people submit questions for our strategy calls. What is the number one question? What is a product I could create based on all of this information? What content, obviously, for days, for years? What's some great content we can create from this? But as great as that AI is, I still need my virtual assistant to do this because I need them to find the data, copy and paste it, organize it, structure it, all of that. But I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Claude.ai is probably the one I would choose in that scenario just because it can handle a lot more data at once.
Yep, you're right.
And it's a game changer. And you're right. You need to, again, it goes back to workflows too. I know we kind of talked about that. So it's like the tools are great. The people are definitely needed. It's definitely like this combination of technology and humanity. Like, this has been said multiple times on this podcast, different episodes, is like the humanity doesn't go away. It's even more important. And we get to think differently because that's what technology does for us. It's not going to go backwards. It's always going to help us evolve our thinking in the way that we show up. And that's exactly where I would use or work with people and have people kind of learn the things. And it's the data aspect. I mean, there's so many other ways to leverage AI to showcase that data, now present it with slides. I mean, there's some new, I don't know the names of these tools, but it's like create beautiful graphs.
With those tools.
Yeah. So, but workflows, I think just figuring out, okay, how do the people work with the tools, with the data, the existing things to find a goal that we're shooting for there. So it's,
and that's ever changing. I mean, as the tools change, although for me, some things, like, I try hard not to ever change. So, as a systems person, I drool when I see, like, the cool ways people are using Notion or Basecamp or Asana. I use Trello and Process Street and just all the million things that are out there. So I want to jump ship and like put it all in, but
I know.
I'm grown up now, and I'm just like, no, you just stay put. This is good enough. It's, how much better is that other thing really?
That's the thing. And a lot of them are honestly copying the other. Like, oh, you have that? Okay, I'm going to put that in here. And like, yeah, 100%. Yep. I feel like I'm now finally growing up because I used to, shiny up. Yeah, like that could help me, but then a lot more work. So,
yep.
All right, Jen. Yeah, definitely. I want to just shout it out again. CEOvirtualstaffing.com. Go get that task list, that big 160 tasks on the very bottom of that page, and because this is a resource that so many people have been asking me for, is essentially how do I find the people that can help me for a lot of these tasks, these roles, and yeah, just check it out because obviously with the tools right now, like things like audio, video editing, and things like that, like it's getting easier. Like things are getting a lot more democratized, yes. I guess, in terms of skill sets. So, don't feel like you have to go hire some really advanced person for a lot of the things that we're doing as business owners. I think that's the thing I keep grounding people. It's like, okay, it doesn't have to, your whole whatever income coming in, revenue doesn't need to go to that one person to do the thing that you just, there's ways to rearrange that thinking.
I totally agree with you.
Good. Before we wrap up, I want to talk about this Alexa flash briefing concept and tell me your background in it, the 4 years you've been doing it. Give me the scoop.
It might even be closer to 5 years. I don't know. I have to check. But so Alexa flash briefings came around, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, and they are like mini podcasts. When I set mine up, it couldn't be longer than 10 minutes. I think that's still the case. Mm-hmm. You would never want it really to be longer than 10 minutes because where these fit in people's day are in little tiny nuggets, right? It's while you're brewing your coffee just before you walk out the door. Yeah. It's long enough for you to brush your teeth because you're listening to it when you're brushing your teeth. I mean, these are, and these days, everyone has, we're going to call her Lexi so we don't wake her up
Good
to
call.
Our listeners. So people have a Lexi device, at least one room of their house these days.
Yeah.
But for people who don't, you can listen to the flash briefings on your phone. And what I found, I started it as an experiment. When I learned about them, I thought, wow, this is just so cool to think that someone could just say to their device, hey, Lexi, play my flash briefings. And what happens is, so the ones I have set up like NPR, different news shows, like national news shows, and a one that I love called Daily Positivity, I think is what it's called. This woman's been doing it as long as I have, and it's just a little dose of daily positivity. And they just play however you have them set up in your app in that order. And they're just great. So I just thought, well, I'll just do this as an experiment and see what happens. And it's really been amazing. So first of all, as a content creator, unfortunately, my briefing is the news. So I give you the latest in the world of digital marketing and tech. So obviously these days there's a lot to talk about. And that was a dumb idea because that means I have to do it every day, right?
Stick with it. Yeah.
Yes. But, I did have AI stand in for me, and it actually worked. It was amazing with play.ht that uses the very sophisticated replica of your voice. People didn't even know. So that was amazing. So anyway, but for most people, like if you're an insurance person or you're whatever you are, like obviously anybody could sit down at an index pad and jot down, 1 minute, a 1 minute tip that you have for your industry, right? And you can record that in 30 minutes. You could do a month's worth of content and your VA would just chop it all up, load it up in there and pre-schedule it, and like you're golden. Yeah. But here's the thing. I'm asking you, Joe, okay, so what is Amazon other than a big store?
Oh, it's a platform.
And
it has an audience that is engaged, integrated,
yes.
They buy. And they seem to be everywhere in every place. What am I missing here?
And it's a search engine.
Search engine. There you go.
Saying,
Algorithm.
I mean, yeah, you're saying all of that essentially, right? Because we type everything in there. If we're looking for a book, if we're looking for like whatever.
True.
So you actually become searchable. Your flash briefing. So if you were to sell softball gear, right, and you had a flash briefing about softball, I mean, that would be really smart because now you also have products people can purchase with their voice from your flash briefing. I haven't set that up yet, but you can purchase right from the flash briefing. But I think the wildest thing about it is that people will purchase a product from me or they'll comment on my social media, and the only way they knew about me was from the flash briefing. They didn't know about me from any of these other marketing channels that I have. And they're so wildly different from each other. And you can be in like 6 different countries right now. And then I really saw growth when Google Home allowed us to put it over there as well.
As an Alexa briefing, or is it like
well, it's not called an Alexa briefing. It's called a news flash or something like that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's the exact same information,
Cool.
and I don't have to do anything extra. It's all plugged into the dashboard of my RSS whatever thing. So what am I leaving out? I think that's it. But a lot of people started it and bailed because they didn't see, unlike with your podcast, although podcasting, I mean, you get a lot more insight and analytics with your podcast than you do on your flash briefing. It's hard. It's it's hard to just keep talking to the void.
Yeah.
True. and wonder, like, is anybody listening? But I do little experiments. The other day I asked my listeners to send me $1. I was like, just send me, I just want to see who does this, but I don't Venmo me. I want you to use Apple Pay and text it to me. And I gave him my phone number, and I was like, well, let's just see. And a lot of people sent me money. And what I did was I sent them back double. Whatever they sent me, I sent them back double.
Cool.
And because I didn't want anybody to think I was like scamming or whatever. But it's just like pulling teeth to get people to leave a review or to
engage or somehow
engage or whatever. So I'm always like trying to think of new ways. Just, are you listening? Are you out there?
Are you capturing emails, or can you do a quick call to action to a landing page?
You could do call to action. So whenever, there are a few people. My friend Daniel Hill has a flash briefing called the Instagram Stories that is really good, and he got permission from Instagram to use the name, and right off the bat he ended up with like, oh my god, so many listeners, like right from day one.
Search engine.
And he has sponsors. I haven't wanted to do that yet. I think it'd be easy enough to do that, but in terms of email, no, you can't. I mean, you just can ask.
Right. Yeah, it's an ask. It's got to be audio, and there's no other.
Like when I do a free workshop or something, I always give the link, but I try only to do that sort of like quarterly. I'll do like a big launch, and then I'll say, and I always kind of like joke with them about like, don't anybody complain to me, because I do not give you ads, and I do this for free every single day for 4+ years. So you're going to have a commercial every day this week from me about this workshop. And
there
then,
you go.
I just sort of make it funny, and nobody ever leaves me for that. So,
well, that's the thing. And they shouldn't be, because you're giving more value. I keep thinking of different call to actions, like a text to number thing with a little code or something. I could see that, at least in audio, being helpful. I used to do that on the podcast here, and it worked pretty well. It's just having the right system to, and obviously giving them more value for that next step, if it's relevant to what you're talking about there.
Yes, I need to do a better job of it, honestly. I mean, it's really such a chore half the time.
Yeah.
I'm not good. I mean, I enjoy it sometimes, but like it'll be 11 o'clock at night, and I'll think, I forgot to do the flash briefing. So I will literally record it with audio. I mean, sometimes they're pretty rough because I'll record it on my phone. And then I just shoot it as an email to my my man Irvin, and then he edits it, adds the music, and then he pops it up there.
Nothing wrong with that. So. I've done that for my podcast too, from the car not that long ago. Voice app, it works.
It works.
Good old batch recording is usually how I get ahead of things, so I don't have to worry. But when you're doing daily, that's a whole different beast. That's wild, Jen.
Yeah.
Wait, let's shout it out. It's Front Row Entrepreneur on Alexa Flash Briefing. So
Yes. Thank you so much.
of course, can't leave you hanging there. Go check her out. And I want to start listening as well because the whole Flash Briefing thing. I don't know if my Alexa's broken or something.
Well, when you're ready to set it up,
Yeah.
I'll help you. So just let me know. It's an easy one-time setup. So let me know.
Cool. Thank you. Well, is there anything else before we wrap this puppy up? I think we covered a lot.
This was
inspired.
so much fun. I got to talk about all my favorite things. So I feel, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So I'll link everything in the show notes for everyone listening this far. Go free up your time. Go figure out, at least get some ideas and go get that document, the 160 tasks, because that's where I'm going right after this. Because awesome. I'm in the mode right now. I'm like, finally, like this, okay, yep, can't go any further. So thank you, Jen, very much for enlightening me, inspiring me, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you.